Federal government inaugurating a 10-man inter-ministerial committee to enforce the Supreme Court judgment on local government autonomy. The Supreme Court on the 11th of July granted autonomy to local governments across the country. Also, the 7-man panel in a judgment delivered by Justice Emmanuel Agim declared that the 774 local government councils in the country should manage their funds. The apex courts also held that governmental power is divided into 3 arms: the federal, the states, and the local governments. In a statement by the Director of Information and Public Relations at the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Segun Omohiosen, it was stated that the federal government has set up a committee for the implementation of the judgment. Yes, sir, we are seeing a situation where local government's autonomy is being challenged covertly by the state governors. And the federal government is also putting its foot down to make sure that they protect the local governments from undue interference and influence from the state government. Do you think that the local governments are really autonomous, and can they really perform their duties of financial autonomy without recourse to the state government?
Yes, that judgment, from what you just said now, the committee set up to enforce. First of all, the judgment by the Supreme Court has already taken effect. Okay. It's a law. The day it was said, it becomes a law. But I understand that at the time that that judgment was given, you had close to about 20-something states in Nigeria. They were running, whether caretaker, all kinds of nomenclature given to the persons that were put in those offices. Yeah. And so I think it behoves on the state governors and the federal government to sit down and have a political resolution. Okay. Just like what you have in Rivers State. Yes, the legal aspect is okay, but the legal aspect will not bring the needed peace, the needed understanding. You still have to solve certain things politically. Now, the political resolution that I think probably is why they are bringing the committee in place. We must come to a conclusion to say, for now, we can still be releasing the money to what they call the Joint Allocation Committee, the JAC, whatever, by state and local government. By the states and local government. Yes, we can. Let's do that for the next 2 months, the next 3 months. That any state that has not conducted election from now till the 31st of October, that from 1st of November, all funds will be paid directly to local government. That can be achieved politically, so that we don't have unnecessary argument. Because at the end of the day, if the federal government is saying, no, according to the Supreme Court said, do not pay if they have a joint account. If the federal government do not pay, remember that the people who will suffer more are the people in the grassroots. That's why you needed a political resolutions to some of these things, and which for me, it is good. But will that give autonomy to the local government from your question? Yes, on the long term. Well, let's look at the long term. Let's not look at what the governors are doing now. Things are changing. The Supreme Court had made this judgment. So I think going forward, we will now be looking at who then conduct elections. Who conduct elections for local government? Or should we now be looking at the fact that part of the Supreme Court judgment was that they are supposed to spend 4 years. Same way the governors and the president are spending 4 years. So should we now be looking at, let INEC conduct all elections at once, rather than having what we have in Rivers State as RISEC, in Kano as KASIEC, in Lagos as LASEC, and all of that? Should we have one central body that we could, by perception, because we feel that local government elections are just written somewhere by somebody. That is the perception. I'm not saying that is what happened. That is general perception. So, but I think that in the long run, the judgment of the Supreme Court will benefit the people in the local government. But on the immediate, yes, the state governors still have control because of the political arrangement once you become the governor, you automatically become the leader of that political party in that state. And so I think for now, on the short run, yes, the governors might be having their way, but I tell you that on the long run, the people will enjoy this judgment better.
Okay, but in this case now, wherein there's a JAC, wherein there's a joint application committee, it already overrules autonomy of the local government, and most local government chairmen per se want to kowtow to their boss, being that politically, just as you said, that a political situation and solution is needed for this. And politically, most of these local government chairmen are brought to the center stage of their local governments by the instrumentality of the state governors. And also, we are seeing a situation where it might also result, just as in Oyo State, where local government chairmen decide that we don't want to be independent. We want to have a contributory account where we contribute and the state government contributes to still take care of local government administration.
If they do that, it's illegal.
Okay.
You can have your say on what, like the Supreme Court said, once we are giving judgment and you are not satisfied, go and appeal to God. So, or your state can decide to say what they want to say, but they know that once it becomes effect, it is illegal to even pay there because the federal government will not pay. They would have an account of the local government where the federal government will pay to, or rather, not federal government, the FAC that shares the money will pay directly to. So I do not, these are just beer parlor conversations from Oyo State. For me, the Supreme Court has given its judgment. If in Oyo State they are not satisfied, they can appeal to God. But when it comes into full effect, I tell you, sir, that they cannot, because it becomes illegal. It becomes illegal for anyone to even touch it. FAC can't even do that. FAC will not even have that power. Where does it derive the power? When the Supreme Court has said, this is what should happen. So FAC itself cannot do that. They will not have the power to so do. So whatever Oyo State has said is immaterial for me. I look at what, as the Supreme Court said, what the Supreme Court said takes effect. Okay, sir.
In this case where the three arms of government, the three tiers of government are seen to be equal and in their disposition of their duties, and the president has his immunity intact, the state governors have their immunities intact. Why is such privilege not given?
Let's not have that at the local level. If not, we are going to create today. Some of us are regretting that some state governors still have immunity from what they do, from the exercise of which they abuse their office. I think that the local government should never have immunity. That's one. Two, now we can now begin to trace when local government funds go to. We can trace, ESCC can trace, NFIU can trace. People can now begin to look at the activities of the local government. But I think part of the things that the state would also benefit is that most of the things that it carries out from the building trunk C roads, which is local government roads, will be left for the local government to do themselves. So the burden of that, the state will no longer be carrying those burden. Those are one of the things too that the state governments would have to shave off and give to the local government. But I think overall, the council chairman should never have immunity. We should be able to call them to account, call them to order at any time, at any point.
Why should what is good for the goose not good for the gander, sir?
Because what we have seen about immunity today, if we had this knowledge about immunity, we would never had allowed some of this immunity, because what they have is called absolute immunity. No, we should have immunity. The immunity does not stop investigation. But today what we have is absolute immunity. No one should have an absolute immunity. People who beg to govern you should never have what we call absolute immunity.
Okay.